Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is February the 12th, 2021. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Don't FOMO on altcoins. 1 second closer to an all-time high. 1 day closer to $1 trillion market cap. All right, I am pumped. We got the best freaking guest in the space here, of course. Cory Clipstein, you make your return to the show. Long-awaited return. Steve Barber, you make your long-awaited return to the show too. And Mauricio makes his return to the show. He comes all the time. It's great. You're a regular, but it's great to have everybody here. Canadians, Americans. Oh, we're going to talk about it all today. So it was an exciting week of This Week in Bitcoin. Okay, there were 2 all-time highs. Like Monday started out, we're like, oh my, Tesla's buying a lot of Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden Wednesday, we're talking about this bank, BNY Mellon, comes onto the scene here. And so I'll start with Cory. It's been a while, man. Good to see you here.
I feel like I was just here. It was so memorable the last time. It feels like last week.
It was a little while ago, actually. I've got the records. But
that was my Michael Saylor impression, trying to make the host feel like you're the most important person in the world every single time.
Well, thank you. I feel honored. Now what news was bigger? What news was bigger to you? You know, all these people always saying, oh, the banks are so evil. Now the banks are in Bitcoin. But at the same time, we've been waiting for Elon and Tesla to get into Bitcoin for a while. So compare and contrast. What did you like?
I mean, obviously the Tesla news was a lot bigger than, any of these really. I mean, I've heard from so many people in the last few days. It was just Monday, wasn't it? God, it was Monday. Like all week I've been hearing from people that say, oh, well, now Tesla's in it. And they had no idea about Paul Tudor Jones, no idea about MicroStrategy, no idea about BlackRock, Guggenheim, Fidelity. They don't know anything else that's ever happened in Bitcoin. So yeah, wow. I'd say Tesla was the big news.
Okay.
Richest man in the world, most popular public company in the world, easily.
So what's your take on the bank, though, on Mellon?
I mean, it's a big deal. It's on the order. It's more like the Northern Trust news. And, poll your users and see how many of them knew about Northern Trust before we found out that Northern Trust was going to custody Bitcoin. It's kind of like that. Fidelity's bigger. Fidelity's a bigger brand name. So as far as it driving purchasing, like that news was from 2014. And Northern Trust and Boney, and Wine Mellon are kind of, not quite as big a news, I would say. Okay. Well, it's still cool. Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Yeah, but it's just more piling on.
Yes. Pile on, baby. Pound that like button, people. Now, all right, let's go. Mauricio, what's your take on Tesla and the bank?
So I think on the Tesla side, obviously incredibly meaningful. I would also agree with Cory that probably is the most meaningful from a just social impact, I guess, because it not only is Elon Musk known as probably the most well-known entrepreneur, he's also associated with futurism. If you look at his companies and everything he does, it's all basically related to or what people associate with the most recent technology, leading edge of progress. And the fact that he's now signaling that he's basically getting some Bitcoin on the balance sheet of Tesla to the tune of 1.5 billion, it's not only a very meaningful amount, it's coming from a very meaningful company and it's coming from a very meaningful entrepreneur. So definitely going to make a lot of waves. On the BNY Mellon stuff, I think it's obviously not as big a client-facing brand, but my understanding at least is on the settlement side of things, they act as the sort of mesh around a lot of banks around the U.S. Just for interbank transactions, etc. So they're in the back end of a lot of lending operations, and they just basically they're really, really big behind the scenes in the banking space. And it may not be a huge sort of signal for retail adoption, but it is, I believe, a very strong signal for the appetite, or at least the progress that and the institutions on the back end are making, namely in the U.S.
All right. Hey, I want to go back to Cory real quick. Did you hear about that? I didn't pay attention to this at all. Some people are making a big deal out of it. MasterCard, you care about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the payment stuff is a big deal. I mean, it's Visa kind of charged ahead of them a bit. But MasterCard, I think, has more international business. So it could get really interesting.
What exactly did they do? What was the news of?
I didn't read the headline. I've been busy selling Bitcoin all week.
All right, pound that freaking like button. Let's go up to Alberta, Canada. Time to go north of the border again. Steve, how you doing? What's your take on all the big news of the week that we just got out of the way there?
Obviously, some extremely bullish news, like bullish news after bullish news, it seems. So definitely big news from Tesla. I mean, I think it's a good idea from Tesla, since they can't make money selling cars. You might as well hold Bitcoin, right? That's one way to make money. Now, as you know, I like to make fun of Tesla all the time, but no, I think it was a really good move by Tesla. It's going to be, the thing that struck me by it was, they do get a lot of government help, government subsidies, call it state subsidies. So considering, especially my view anyways, that Bitcoin is sort of, it doesn't really, it's not really gelling with the state, like with state money, with fiat money. What could that mean for Tesla in the future, right? Like, could that rub some, feathers the wrong way? I guess we'll see, but likely not. I don't think that's, I don't think they're going to get certain subsidies and grants cut over this, but it could have some kind of long-term impact because, and certainly as everyone knows, they really like to FUD Bitcoin and how dirty Bitcoin mining is. So we've already seen that in the articles there, like some of the articles coming out about Tesla buying Bitcoin. Some of these fiat, journalists are wondering, does this make sense for Tesla, this green energy company, to be investing in such a dirty thing like Bitcoin, right? So
I saw some of those comments on Twitter. I thought it were bots. I mean, it was so mindless. It's like, supposed to be a green energy company. How could they be getting into it? I'm pretty sure it might have been a bot. I mean, it was bot-like. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's so.
No, you're totally right. Like, there's nothing dirty about Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining. In fact, like, as we all here would agree, it's actually maybe some of the greenest technology out there, right? But I mean, it is what it is in terms of what the mass media and the masses think. So I just thought it was interesting because it's. I think it was a very good move by Tesla. It's a good move by any business. Definitely huge news, like Cory was saying. Like, most people, I had friends bring it up to me, and I have people now, whether it's just the Tesla news or just the hype in the bull market. Like, I have people contacting me again now, whereas they weren't a few weeks ago, right? So like, this news that keeps dropping is definitely exciting the masses.
I think it was on your feed you mentioned that companies out there should, if they have profits, just turn them into Bitcoin right away, and they'll be way ahead of their competitors. I'll have to say, second year on that.
Yeah, it's obviously true. Like, it's true on its face because Bitcoin goes up in value. So if you're holding Bitcoin, you're just going to do well, right? But I mean, I'm seeing it, like, even in looking at my own business, and my business is an oil field business, and I look at my competitors who are not involved in Bitcoin at all. They're all struggling. Like, they're all like literally on their ass struggling, like barely. A lot of them are going under, right? Like, a lot of them are going bankrupt or shutting down or temporarily shutting down. We're going really strong right now, right? And you don't have to be a mining business. You don't have to sell Bitcoin mines like we do. I mean, if you're selling anything, like if you're selling pumps, like if you're any business out there in the world doing anything, if you're converting your profits, like what you end up putting in your treasury into Bitcoin, you're just going to kill it in the long term, and then you're just going to smash your competition, right? So I see that with us and our own competition that doesn't hold Bitcoin, and it's just true for everybody.
I love it. And people, if you're running a company, but turn your reserves into Bitcoin like the big boys are right now. I'm glad you're crushing the competition up north. I want to ask a question to all the panel here. Have you guys become? We'll start with you, Steve, because you can be kind of a bear sometimes. Have you become numb to the all-time highs?
bear. I'm just. I like to try to think rationally about things, but I wouldn't say I'm a bear.
All right. Well, we haven't got to 50,000 yet. So, forgetting about 50,000, these all-time highs that we've had 2 different all-time highs this week. Are you numb to this stuff now? Like, to me, I kind of get excited, but like, I don't know. It's like it's becoming the new normal. Like another day, another all-time high. I like it.
Yeah, I guess I'm somewhat numb. Like I know what I felt like in December 2017, which is my first bull run. And I remember like when it was peaking, like just thinking like, I can't believe this is real. Like this is crazy. So there was a bit of like a euphoric, like that euphoria feeling. But now I don't feel that really at all. So I don't know if it just hasn't got yet to that level, which I don't think it has. Like I think like it's got to keep spiking and keep doing its thing before maybe I'll get back to that mode. But I mean, like maybe time is just hardening us all right against it. So, it is what it is. I mean, but as a Bitcoin mining company, I still have to sell Bitcoin from time to time. I actually sold some today. It always hurts, but unfortunately, some suppliers don't accept Bitcoin, right? So it's
for now they do not. We will enter a world one day, hopefully, when they all will. And because I'm offended by selling, but I understand.
It's just an unfortunate reality.
Yes, our strong hands makes us kind of numb to all these. Well, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth for these all-time highs. We'll go back to Mauricio. First of all, Mauricio, did you know about the MasterCard, whatever that was? I don't even know if anybody knows about that. That news. Do you have any knowledge of that before I totally forget about it? Because I just have it written down.
I did look it up in case you guys want to know what they're doing. But Mauricio maybe already knows.
No, please, Cory. I'm actually on the same boat as you. We've been so busy. Any Bitcoin companies probably hasn't had time to look at a headline over the last few weeks. So
I have to wait until we're recording a live show to have time to read something.
Well, I'll get Cory. We'll get back to Cory in a second. Mauricio, what is your take on being numb to all-time highs? Or are you?
Well, I mean, as I sit in front of the weekly candle for Bitcoin behind me, it's been basically new all-time high after new all-time high. Like to Steve's point, I remember feeling last time around in the last rally. I remember when I actually made fun of. There was a tweet about one of those memes, a guy that's like doing great, and it was basically a guy memeing saying like, I'm buying Bitcoin at 3K for Thanksgiving. And I remember saying from that Thanksgiving on that was, I think that was when it went from like 3 to like 15 or something absurd. And I remember thinking to myself like, wow, who's coming in at these levels and buying this? And there was no sort of market signal that it was anything other than retail or just speculative activity driving this whole thing. I think what's very different about this time around is that you're seeing Bitcoin escalate to these new levels with this underlying fear of inflation in the US dollar and with absolute astronomical asset price inflation in the United States. And what I think you're seeing happening is who's running towards Bitcoin right now are the ones who are facing the most inflation in the US. And counterintuitively, that happens to be the wealthiest Americans, because there's a big difference between asset price inflation and Main Street inflation. Main Street inflation is nowhere to be seen. Asset price inflation is through the roof. House prices in the Hamptons doubled in 2020. Doubled. Sales volumes for houses in the Hamptons also doubled in 2020. If you look at the price of bonds, if you look at the price of $100,000 or $120,000 income through bonds, through AAA corporate bonds in the US, that has come down by, like, you basically have to have, I think it's something like 65% more capital in those bonds at the end of 2020 than you did at the beginning of 2020 to get the same money. So like the price of annuities is skyrocketing. The price of prime real estate is skyrocketing. The S&P is higher today than it was last year. Who's making more money? So all I'm trying to say is like, these are all signals that it's basically dollar weakness driving all these asset prices higher, and it shows no signs of stopping. We're hitting new all-time highs, and you're getting 1.5 billion corporate treasury allocations. That's absurd. And that to me does not seem like something that's going to stop anytime soon. In fact, when Michael Saylor did his corporate announcement back in October, he openly said that it would take 6 months for any similar company to do the same. We tracked this. We put a pin that day, and we made a note, and we even said it in our newsletters. January, February, expect corporate treasury announcements. And we're starting to see a lot more of those. And I think there are so many more likely in the pipe that haven't been announced because they're seeing, boards are looking at this. You announce this, look at MicroStrategy share price. Like, do you think all these companies don't want to do the same? And so I think it's basically going to become a FOMO, on a treasury FOMO, that there's the potential for this treasury FOMO to kick in, which would be a cascade of dollars in scales that we've never seen.
Yeah, that was one of my past questions I used to ask the panel members. When are we going to have corporate FOMO? So you're saying we're going to have corporate FOMO this month, perhaps.
We're seeing it. Corporates don't move as fast as retail. It's not like logging on and signing up, passing KYC on an exchange, or even not. If you want to go, you can get crazier. You can start speculating in day one. For a board to authorize an allocation to Bitcoin, there has to be months of processes and meetings so that everybody signs off. So if people got excited when Saylor did it, if people got excited when Tesla did it, you have to track 6 months from that point.
All right, let's and by the way, GK sent $4.99 and he said, thank you, GK. He said, no one told me Mauricio was coming on today. Let's go. That's one of your big fans out there. You know who he is. All right. Let's go to Cory.
Yeah, I was gonna hit two things. So the first is just thinking about like where we are in the bull rally, let's say. And so if you take the current price divided by the cycle low and then multiply it by the previous cycle low, that'll basically tell you like what the equivalent percentage rise would have been in the previous cycle. And so this is where we are, and this is why Steven is not feeling like it's December 17th, 2017 or whatever it was. It's because the equivalent price is $2,700. So it's June 5th, 2017 right now. I'd say
it's earlier than that, but okay.
Well,
your formula is complicated.
In math terms, it's the same. That's the first time we closed at 2,700 for a weekly candle or whatever. And the other thing to think about is, I guess that was 11 months after the halving to hit that price, because the halving was July of 2016. We're 9 months after right now, so basically we're moving faster this time. Which makes me think, like, I think most people's mental models are like, okay, the price went up so much in 2013, right? It went from $2 to 1,100, like 550x. And then it went up, less, right? It went up 108x from $180 to 19,700 in the second cycle. And people are like, oh, well, then that rise is going to keep getting lower, right? If it went up 550 times and then 108 times, maybe it'll go up like 30 or 40 times this time. And the thing is, we have no idea. We don't know what happens when corporations start buying Bitcoin. It's very possible that the mean for bull markets is a 2013 cycle. We have no idea. So I'm just sitting here and I'm saying, like, let's all just keep on like buying Bitcoin because we know it's going to the moon eventually, and like stop worrying so much about how high this damn thing goes. We don't know.
I want to add one thing when you're comparing it to last cycle. And that you're saying this time it seems like it's going at a faster pace. It's going up more. So last time at this point in the cycle, we were dealing with unbelievable scaling FUD. It was unbelievable. If you go back in time, 210,000 blocks ago, that was actually April of 2017. That's the way I do it much simpler than you. I just subtract 210,000 blocks, which is basically 46 months ago, which is April, and it was major scaling FUD that we're not dealing with now. So that was probably holding the price back quite a bit, and this is more natural. But that's neither here.
There's always a new generation of FUD. The one before that was like, oh, Gox hacks and frickin' Silk Road, and government's going to take everybody, and you're going to jail. Like, that was worse than scaling FUD.
All right, now
like the FUD gets weaker each cycle.
You looked, and we're going to talk about the energy FUD. By the way, Steve is going to talk about the energy FUD pretty soon. I'll get to that. But what's it?
Do you want the MasterCard thing?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to ask the MasterCard.
All right. So basically, they basically said they are partnering with crypto exchanges around the world, and they're going to transmit the dollars across the MasterCard network and then convert it back into the local currency. So it's basically they're doing Strike.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's corporate strike on their part.
Exactly.
We'll see who wins on that one. I mean, it's in it. Compete, don't complain. Let them do what they want to do. I want to go back to the with you just to was we started talking about the BNY Mellon. That was they're doing it's custody. I mean, this is the beginning. I know it's not main. It's not sexy for the mainstream people. You know, it's not Elon Musk or whatever. But we're soon, one of these days, all these banks are going to be banks holding cryptocurrencies for institutions. I mean, so it is a big deal. I mean, it's
for institutions and retail as well. I mean, I know this is a moment of time for us Bitcoin sellers because, you know, in 5 years or 10 years, there's going to be just a convert button in your normal Citibank account, your Chase account, whatever. You're just going to flip back and forth whenever you want in the banking apps. You know, that's obviously going to happen.
Yeah, I just think we're really. I mean, when do you think it's they're going to be at? When do you think they're going to be like advertising this on TV? Like, hey, set up your cryptocurrency account at Bank of America. I mean, it seems like we're getting close to that.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on that one?
I mean, it's coming. It's just a matter of time.
Just a matter of time, baby. All right, let us move on to someone who made news here, who loves to make news. Andrew Yang, who is famous for making bringing the check, the monthly check, the UBI to the mainstream. I mean, when he started talking about it, it was a joke. Now, the specter of UBI is probably part of the reason that the Bitcoin price is pumping a little bit. You know, we don't know what's next in the United States of America. But for a guy who believes in money printing, he says that he wants, as mayor of New York, the world's financial capital, I would invest in making the city a hub for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So I don't know if I can believe this dude anymore. I mean, he was supposed to be an outsider, and then all of a sudden he's endorsing Biden. There's a lot of politicians now, whether it be in Reno, whether it be in Miami, that say they're going to make their cities crypto cities. Now, again, he's not mayor yet. This might just be a straight up gimmick to get some attention. He's leading in the polls, but who should I start with? Well, you're an American, Cory. I got to start with you. Do you think he's telling the truth here? Do you think this is a serious thing? And do you think a city is really going to step up anytime soon, or is this just a marketing gimmick to become a crypto city?
I mean, you're already seeing, like you said, like Miami is throwing down for Bitcoin. Reno and some of the Nevada cities are pretty confused, and they think that crypto is a thing. But, you know, I think it makes a lot of sense for New York, the financial capital of the world, to try to be the financial innovation capital of the world. They should. It's hilarious that they went the other route behind Lasky for a few years. But even he seems to have seen the light. I mean, he's general counsel for NYDIG, which is Ross Stevens' company. Everybody loves them. So, you know, the evil bit license guy is now on Team Bitcoin. So we'll see. And they pulled BitLicense out of its own little thing, and it's now under the innovation department, and they're softening the requirements and giving people conditional licenses and, you know, no action letters and stuff like that. So it's turning around fast with or without Andrew Yang in New York.
The issue, though, is, I mean, BitLicense is restrictive. If he wants to make the city a crypto hub, they're going to have to deal with BitLicense. In Florida, they don't have to deal with. There's not as many restrictions in Florida and maybe Nevada. I'm more interested in Florida. And on that note of Miami, the mayor of Miami, I mean, he is really he wants to pay the workers in Bitcoin, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But he's trying. He's really trying. So, Mauricio, you know about Miami a little bit. What's your take on the mayor of Miami and Andrew Yang and all these municipalities? Is it just, are they just talking the talk, or what are we going to have some real stuff here?
So I think people forget that politicians are salesmen, right? Like they're selling themselves, they're selling for votes. Their job is to essentially get you to think that what they're doing is interesting or cool, regardless of where you sit, right? Because some people have to pick up a market persona and focus on that, but politicians are in a different kind of boat where they have to be liked by everybody, right? So they will sell and say whatever needs to be said in order to essentially get as most votes as they can. So, I mean, on the Yang side, I think, it to me, it reflects the fact that there's just lack of critical thinking as far as what affects who, right? Because when you're talking about MMT and you're talking about printing, you're literally talking about giving somebody a cookie today, but they're going to be hungry forever. Because when you print a little bit of money to fix an issue, you create a bigger issue, which is the inflation and the disconnect between basically you fuel the gap between people that own assets or don't own assets. Because every time you print money, that money finds its way a little bit into food or whatever, but immediately it finds its way into assets because people are going to look to protect themselves from the devaluation of that newly printed money. So by saying, yes, let's go ahead with printing dollars, you're basically saying, I'm okay with transferring wealth from non-asset holders to asset holders, right? But then on the flip side of that, you're saying to somebody, hey, by the way, if you want to buy the world's greatest asset too, to protect yourself, here's the way to do it, because by the way, we're going to be printing a lot of money. So it's like, it's a way of trying to make everybody happy, but at the same time, you're not really doing this for the benefit of a long-term plan. You're doing it for the immediate plan of you getting elected, right? Similarly, when you look at something like, for example, the city of Miami is doing, the city of Miami, by the way, and I have to commend Francis Suarez for the work he's done. He's a great salesman for the city of Miami for tech. Like it's already beyond known that many people in our industry and many companies in our industry are taking an interest in Florida and Miami. A lot of it is because of its weather. A lot of it is because of its framework. And he's just trying to make that process easier. So in that sense, I think he's doing a good job. And I haven't really heard the MMT argument out of him. So I can't really speak for, the same things that I was saying about Yang, about basically saying one thing and then saying the other at the same time. But anyway, I ranted for a bit, so I'll pause.
Awesome. All right. Steve, I'm going to ask you about what you think about Yang and these municipalities, but you've got insight into something a little bit beyond this. I mean, municipalities that might want to, do Bitcoin mining one day. I don't know if you have any comment on that.
Yeah, I could comment a little, but Yang, I mean, I saw that Yang thing and I just thought hypocrite. Like, I just thought this is, what a joke. Like, the guy is extremely left-leaning, I guess you could say. Like UBI, it's like the antithesis of Bitcoin. Like it's state governed like distribution of wealth as opposed to individual sovereignty, right? Like it makes no sense. So for him to like support cryptocurrencies, I think like what Mauricio was saying, he's just a sales guy. He's just trying to sell people on, he just wants people to like him and think he's cool. He seems to flip flop and just blow with the wind like every other useless politician, right? So I don't think there's much there. I think he's, as soon as the wind blows the other way and it's no longer popular to, Bitcoin's not spiking and now it's not popular to say you're interested in cryptocurrencies, or once the SEC or the government starts banning cryptocurrencies, he's not going to be supportive of cryptocurrencies. Like the guy's a flake. So not a lot of good to say about him there, but I do like what I've seen from this guy. I forget his name already, but the Miami guy.
Suarez.
Yeah, and it seems like a smart strategy. I think he's just doing what he thinks is in the best interest of his city and his constituency. So I think that's a smart thing to do. And I think Miami's been sort of maybe open to this whole Bitcoin and cryptocurrency thing for a while. There's been a few mining events hosted there, and everyone has said a lot of good things about having conferences in the city. So, yeah, I mean, municipalities, I mean, I come from, I made a funny post there the other day, but like I come from a town, it's right on the border with two provinces, and sort of pondering about, I wonder if I can convince the people in the town to secede from Canada, because I mean, it's surrounded by energy, it's surrounded by agriculture. More and more people there are becoming pro Bitcoin because, I mean, our company made the local newspaper front page recently, and then we had a ton of inquiries like from around just the area over that. I think people are really waking up to Bitcoin in general, and I think I sort of am a believer in the idea that in the future we're going to see a lot more of these like city states, like fracturing of like the big countries into smaller states, and that'd be amazing if somewhere like Lloydminster, like my call it not really hometown right now, I just moved to Calgary, but Lloydminster would be a great spot for it all to start.
Now, can you say anything about the progress of municipalities getting closer to mining Bitcoin?
I can't. I am mining, like my company is mining with a city in Alberta, but I can't say anything on it because I have a contractual. I basically cannot disclose any of that. Some people, it's sort of not that hard to guess who it could be. There's only so many cities with an interest in natural gas, but yeah, we've had some interesting things happening lately, and certainly any jurisdiction at all that I mean, I just got off the phone yesterday with the regulator for Saskatchewan about some gas projects that are going on, and we had a discussion on carbon tax and some other things. But even then, like the regulator, I was talking to the regulator, they were very positive and pro this whole concept of Bitcoin mining off the state's resources. It brings more income to them, more royalties. It's just a sort of a win-win for everybody. So yeah, I think it's just going to become common to see all this, like with municipalities and states adopting this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really putting their money where their mouth is there. It's instead of having Andrew Yang with this as a campaign promise, it's a lot different when municipalities actually start mining the Bitcoin. So I look forward to seeing that. I think that's an interesting use of resources for these cities or countries or whatever. Speaking about, I just want to we talk about Bitcoin bringing down the currencies of. Some people think it's going to bring down the dollar. Straight out of Nigeria, here's some news. Cryptocurrency has become a world. This is what someone from the Senate said in the Senate of Nigeria. Cryptocurrency has become a worldwide transaction of which you cannot even identify who owns what. The technology is so strong that I don't see the kind of regulation that we can do. Bitcoin has made our currency almost useless or valueless. That is from Senator Sani Musa over there in Nigeria. So we've gotten to a point where public officials in interesting countries are like expressing fear of Bitcoin and straight up saying that their currencies are worthless. I think that's a good thing. I think that's very good progress. I don't know if any of you have anything to Mauricio, do you have anything to say about that? I know you know about rogue nation states perhaps getting into Bitcoin. But what do you think about Bitcoin bringing down some of these currencies in some of these developing countries? And when do you think we'll hear that a country has bought Bitcoin, not a rogue state, but just a regular state has bought a Bitcoin for its treasuries?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Rogue states don't typically have transparent treasuries, so that's they may already have them, but they're just probably not going to disclose them. I'll take a few. I think to kind of kick this off, I think it was best put by Ross Stevens in his recent interview with Michael Saylor, where he said a government can force its people to use a currency or accept a currency. A government can't force its people to value a currency. And I thought that was very, very true, really, when you look at Venezuela, for example. Like Maduro and Chavez and all those authoritarians tried hell or high water to force people to use the Bolivar, to like make the dollar illegal, make it impossible, basically make hoarding any type of asset that would protect this wealth. They tried to make illegal. And over time, they just had to wave the white flag and dollarize the whole country because nobody was using the Bolivar. The Bolivar is, by all accounts, an obsolete currency that is used really by the sort of, only the people that absolutely have to do it. And that's, that's very unfair. And so in Nigeria, what I think is happening is they're basically waking up and saying, we can tell people that they can't hold this, but we have no way of actually going there. And the cost to a nation to go and audit who has Bitcoin or who doesn't, and to take it from them, it's insurmountable. There's not enough tax agents in the world that will basically be able to do that. So you have to make a decision as to whether you're going to let this be the course of things and find another way to make money, or another way to basically stay in power, because that's all the government wants. And I think this is a very interesting acknowledgement from Nigeria, because there will be a tipping point where if you go and say to your people, and I actually thought that Libra was going to bring this tipping point way closer, because in these countries, like in Nigeria or in Venezuela, the government controls the narrative. They control state media. They ban anyone they don't like. Basically, opinions that are not agreeing with them will not get aired in mass media. People will not hear about them. They block the internet. They block Twitter. And so what they do when inflation starts rising is it's the capitalists' fault. It's the people that are here trying to use. Do you use dollars, Miguel or Maria? You don't use dollars. So this doesn't affect you. Your life does not revolve around dollars. And they're very good at spinning this narrative that it's this evil force that is external to them, and it's not the government printing the money that's creating their problems. And they do this by basically demonizing the dollar or demonizing any other currency from a foreign country. With Bitcoin, they have a very hard time demonizing it because it has no boss. It has no political agenda. It has no army. It's not here trying to conquer you with its capitalism. So it's just better money. And they have a very hard time basically explaining that.
All right. Good take there. GK says, best guest in the space. Shout out to Adam and all the guests. Well, thank you for the $9.99, GK. All right, let's go to who did I want to go to next with this topic of Cory. Who do you think a nation state, a non-rogue nation state, is going to be announcing a purchase anytime soon? And who do you think it'll be?
Yeah, we've been talking about this quite a lot, and there are a lot of countries that it makes sense for, like a Singapore or a Norway or whatever. I'm sticking with my dark horse. I don't even think it's dark horse. I think it's the most likely is Turkey. I think they have sort of the history of their politicians and people in power sort of playing the 4D chess thing and always having to sit kind of between like the Arab world and Iran and Western Europe and Russia and kind of like bouncing things off and, having the world's most important waterway like go through their main cities. They're always sort of playing that realpolitik game. And they also have the highest percentage of people that own gold of any country in the world. And I think they have the highest percentage of people that own Bitcoin already. I was there, I guess it's been a while now, but a year and a half ago. And there were already Bitcoin ATMs everywhere, like Bitcoin stores. You see the word Bitcoin on all the main streets when you're riding around, and like you see it just like you would see, Western Union or something like that. So I know that there have been people talking about Bitcoin to occupy the, semi-authoritarian party that runs the country since 2014. BTC Turk is a very large volume exchange, and people love it. They're tight with the government, so it's not like it hasn't been sort of in there. They're definitely going down the path of CBDCs, which, as we know, is basically a way to get government people to research Bitcoin and understand that Bitcoin is better.
That's a good way of looking at it. I like that.
Yeah. Like you take your CBDC vitamins and then you get an orange pill. It's great.
Well, actually, it's interesting you bring up CBDC. Canada keeps on talking about that. Steve, any thought on that or on countries buying Bitcoin?
Yeah, Canada's definitely Canada's economy is just absolutely smashed, and our debt is just gone through the roof. So there's not a lot of hope here because for some reason they won't turn on the oil taps, which could fix everything in Canada. But it is what it is. So yeah, they're moving quickly, or at least they announced they're moving quickly. Like, I don't know how fast bureaucrats move, but they're moving quickly with the CBDC. I don't expect to see Canada or any, like, call it like, I won't say first world, but like any nation maybe associated with the United Nations, like any of these nations associated with central banking. I don't see them adopting Bitcoin in the treasury. I do see like the smaller nations and call it like rogue nations, as you're saying, and even the nations that have always had trouble with currency sort of doing something like that. What I would expect to see from like a nation like Canada, even the US, what I expect is before they adopt Bitcoin in any way, like in the treasury or in any way, like taking it as tax payments, they're probably like, I've always theorized they might reintroduce competitive money, which might be a sounder money, which might be just like a gold-backed money, like, or go back to a gold reserve or something. Canada, I can't say has any gold. They have no gold. They sold it all. But the US apparently has a lot of gold, if that's true. And I could see them issuing a gold-backed money at some point to try to compete with this, this tidal wave that is Bitcoin.
Interesting. Very, very interesting there. But I will say this. Yeah, I don't think it'll be one of the gigantic countries that's going to all of a sudden have Bitcoin in its reserves. It'll be one of these smaller ones, but something like Turkey, something that'll be somewhat shocking. CS2 sent $5. Bitcoin is a weapon of mass disruption. Pound that like button. I like that. Well, we'll stick with Steve here. I know you're not a fan of altcoins at all, so that's why I'll bring up this Dogecoin nonsense with you. The noise is still out there. I don't know if you hear it. You are on Twitter, so you've had to have had it thrown in your face a little bit here. What do you think about the? Is this a sign of we're about to enter a tremendous bubble here in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin? That all these people think that Elon Musk should be worshipped because he got his kid some Dogecoin?
You know what, man? Like, and I've even said this on Twitter. Like, I think Dogecoin is the only altcoin that makes any sense because it's a joke. It's a meme. Like, I don't think anyone truly takes it seriously, and it's not trying to be some kind of technology that is not really possible. Like a lot of the things Ethereum has tried to market itself in the past, like other altcoins and shitcoins have tried to do. So I do think it's a piece of trash, like Dogecoin is, and it's not going anywhere. But I think as far as altcoins go, like, it's a meme coin and it's a good meme coin. I don't know about any other coins that are even close in terms of altcoins, or even close to Dogecoin and actually being true to its meme. Everything else is sort of just a fraud, or more or less. So yeah, I also don't know if it's like you mentioned, like, is it going to be another bubble hype cycle like maybe the 2016-17 cycle? Like, I probably doubt it. I don't think we can ever really predict what's going to happen. So I think the steam will run out of this Dogecoin thing sooner than people hope.
Interesting. I've had grown men tell me that, over the internet, that Dogecoin is the people's money. So there are people that take it seriously. They don't. I mean, this is the scary thing.
It's problem that all the altcoins have that Bitcoin doesn't have is that they're highly political. Like, you can change the development process in Dogecoin has already changed multiple times over politics. And that's what Bitcoin resists, is political influence. So no, like, it's not the future of money.
All right. Cory, your company only deals with Bitcoin, but what's your take on this Dogecoin insanity and noise that's out there?
Well, I want to be very clear that somebody has created swanxrp.com, so you should definitely check that out.
What the heck?
So you really should check it out if you're watching this. Check out.
Okay, we'll check it out, people.
We were planning an April Fool's joke, but somebody jumped the gun and put it out there. It wasn't us, but it is funny. Yeah, so no Swan Doge incoming, but yeah, I mean, it is just like there's no development. The protocol has ossified. There's no development. The monetary policy is ridiculous and sucks, but it's I don't know. It can't exist for the long term and mean anything, but it's a fun meme coin, and you can pump it and you can dump it and you can play little games with Wall Street bet friends and stuff like that. I have no interest in that stuff.
I'm glad you brought up playing games with Wall Street bet friends, because that's what I was going to ask you about. Is that mentality like taking over like some bored people that are stuck at home? Like, I'm just going to jump on the latest trend, whatever's on Reddit. I want to get back at the man. And that's what, I mean, it seems like people are buying, they think they have a good reason to buy these coins. Like it's some type of revenge. Like, I mean, I think that's what a lot of Wall Street bets people were doing. And they've taken that into the Doge space, and maybe they're going to take that into other, I don't think it's good to buy anything based on spite and getting people back. But I think this Wall Street bet mentality is something that's new, and I think it's going to ruin a lot of people. I think it's only I think some people will win on these planned pumps, but these are just like revenge pump and dumps. I don't know. Do you see that mentality like seeping into the space?
I mean, Reddit basically discovered penny stock forums. That's all these are. I mean, this is like, that's the way that, honestly, a lot of the people that got involved in 2017, 2018 that had like more money than the ETH millionaires and that pumped these things, they came from penny stocks. They understand that, like, that's who came into crypto starting in 2017, and they're all in crypto now because they understand that you can do the same thing with shit coins that you can with shit stocks. And so, yeah, I mean, what is StockTwits? StockTwits is an entire platform that's basically Wall Street bets with like a little bit more decorum, but it's the same shit. It's just people like putting out ideas and trying to recruit other people to their trade so that their bit of capital gets levered up 100 times or 1,000 times. What is it when one of these hedge funds puts out a hit piece and goes short, and then they publicize it and they go on CNBC and they tweet about it and they make the 70-page slide deck available for wide distribution and get it sent to as many people as possible? They're trying to recruit money to their side of the trade to push that stock down. What do you think Kyle Bass is doing talking about China all the time? He has a massive bet, basically on the Hong Kong dollar breaking. And, he doesn't really care that much about the veracity of, the news that he's pushing. Like, he kind of cares that it sounds truthy in the Colbertian sense. Like it should sound sort of newsy, but if it, serves his purpose and recruits more dollars to his fund, or just to take his side of the trade to help break the peg, then he's going to do it. Bitcoiners do it too, or Bitcoin fans or whatever. And I don't like it. I prefer narratives that are not false, because I like people to actually understand the truth as much as they possibly can, because that creates strong hands if you actually understand what's going on. For instance, I think that, Real Vision, essentially promoting bunk stats and bunk math from the S2F models, they basically rose to popularity on that because it sounded truthy and it was fun for Raul to promote. And he's a Goldman sales guy that like is looking for something that he thinks that his clients are going to enjoy and that will like bring them to the table. In this case, not to buy tons of bonds from him, junk bonds and shit, but to subscribe to Real Vision and like watch his shows. So he wrote it, right? And what happens when Bitcoiners turn a blind eye to false narratives, then you basically lose any sort of authority, and you're stuck on Raul's team when he warms up to XRP because you didn't call his bullshit when he was on your team promoting Bitcoin. So stop fucking giving people a pass. Stop just choosing to be aligned with anybody that has a narrative that seems to be helpful for the Bitcoin price. That's how we got Bitcoin for payments in the first place, because we were sucking up to VCs before my time. Like, stop believing in false narratives about Bitcoin.
Woo! You brought up that Real Vision. Pound that like button. A lot of people got some things. Yeah, the XRP transition was very interesting on his part, to say the least. And that's what. Yeah, you got.
But you could tell it was coming by the kid gloves with it. It's by the fact that he never actually like looks at models and like checks with anybody that understands statistics and just throws it out there on the platform.
it was like what Steve was saying beforehand. Andrew Yang is trying to be cool with the Bitcoin. He was trying to be cool with the Bitcoin to get more people to watch him. I mean, there's different reasons people jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon. I mean, it's definitely a bandwagon for some people. And you know what? This is where the big boys play. We got it. We got to deal with it. Anyone can get into Bitcoin for any reason. Just don't put these people on pedestals and worship them. I mean, that's what's wrong with society in general today. That so many people just can't think for themselves and want a leader to tell them what to do, and will only make a move if someone with a big loud voice does it. And that's not a good situation to get into. So let's go to Mauricio real quick. You got a lot to. If you have any comments on Dogecoin or what we were just talking about, I want you to bring up your proof of reserves too. The article that's linked below that what Ledin is doing.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. I think, listen, on the Dogecoin stuff, the Fed has turned the entire nation of the United States into basically people that now need to basically outpace their rate of emission, right? So people are essentially, they've become traders because they need to create more dollars to keep up with the basically debilitation that the Fed is pumping into the dollars that they have. So it's created a nation of essentially day traders that have to earn more money than the Fed is printing because they know that the dollars that they have are going to be worth it. So I think what you're seeing in Doge is just a symptom of dumping trillions of new dollars into the economy and having people stuck at home and having to make money. They are discovering these things. A lot of people, if you look at, I haven't even looked at this, but I invite you to look at Google search trends for day trading course or day trading things. I bet you they're vertical, and it's because it's the only activity that most people can do right now, or a large amount of people. So, and that's to put a bow on, I guess, for a second on the Doge stuff. What we've been working really hard on at Ledin was not only our financing round. So we just announced a round this Monday, $2.7 million led by Weiser Capital with Coinbase Ventures, Kingsway, GFC, and CMT Digital as well. And which we're very, very proud, and obviously a huge thank you to all of our team for how hard they work. But the other stuff that we are, I would say, equally proud of is that we become the first lending company to actually have a proof of reserves attestation done by a public accountant. And that is, we're the first lender in the world to do it. It was obviously a huge lift, but we've always been big on proof of reserves, and this is something that we've wanted to essentially double down on. So we hope that this becomes an industry standard and that more companies follow suit.
All right, proof of reserves, that's a serious thing right there, guys. That's, someone's being honest when they voluntarily want to do that. There's so many third parties out there. They want to hide everything. So proof of reserves calls out the third parties and makes them more honest. And I'm glad you're doing that over there. Let's go to Steve real quick here. Bitcoin, an ultra-efficient financial settlement layer. That is linked to below. Tell us about you fighting the energy FUD there.
I'd like to say I've been fighting the energy FUD for years. That was just I wrote that at the airport as I was flying home from Maui. So there's not too much content in that little post, but I mean, the common, it keeps sprouting up. It's going to sprout up more and more, is that Bitcoin is dirty. Bitcoin mining is dirty, and it's using up all the energy, etc. I mean, these guys, if you Google that, Bitcoin is dirty or Bitcoin is unsustainable, you see all the articles, and they're all pointing to usually the same metric. They have a few metrics they like to use, but one metric is transaction energy used per transaction, right? Bitcoin has a limit on transaction throughput. So they say, okay, well, Bitcoin is using currently, 8 gigawatts or whatever it is, and divide by the transaction throughput. And there you go. You have whatever it is, 2,000 kilowatt hours per transaction. Not sure what that actual metric is right now, but I just posted and I'm not the first one to post this, but it's a transaction, a value throughput. Bitcoin might have a transaction limitation, but it has no value throughput limitation. So I just flipped it on. Instead of dividing total energy consumption by throughput in terms of number of transactions, divided by what's the ratio in value throughput. And I think the numbers were like, right now, depending on what exact metrics you're looking at, like Bitcoin is settling up to $1 million per megawatt hour, I think it was. And that a megawatt hour only costs like about $50, like for an energy company. So you're settling a global settlement layer at up to like $1 million of settlement per megawatt hour, or $50 spent in energy costs. Like that's astoundingly efficient, right? Like that's why I called it Bitcoin is an ultra efficient settlement layer. And there's all kinds of different ways you can sort of measure this, like, and a lot of people have, and I linked to in that little post, like at the bottom, a gentleman named Tyler Bain wrote a really good piece. Nick Carter has written some really good pieces on the countering the FUD against the energy of Bitcoin that it's used, right? So yeah, and then of course, you got companies like us and other companies building on oil field waste, which is just flies in the face of the narrative.
All right, and it's linked to below. All these guys are linked to below. Cory, you've been promoting Clubhouse. What's going on at Swan? Tell us. We're nearing the end of the show, so anything that was left out, bring it all out now.
Sure. I mean, I don't promote Clubhouse. I just I think it's an important tool. I think it's the most important social network to launch since 2006. So I think we'll look back and we'll say, okay, LinkedIn was important in 2002, and then Facebook in 2004, YouTube in 2006, and then nothing was really important until Clubhouse launched in 2020. So that's my view. I think it's the most important one for businesses and for sort of like networking and education about, topics of economics, finance, business, whatever, since LinkedIn. So it's been 19 years since something has come out like that. It takes big chunks of podcasts, conferences, radio, public relations, journalism, like a lot of different fields get directly impacted. I think sales is the next thing that will go hardcore into Clubhouse. You can just have like spur of the moment webinars on any topic and just get, hundreds of hand raisers coming in you can take them through whatever you want to. So yeah, it's in its infancy, but we skipped audio when we went from, text and images straight to video, and nobody did audio well with any sort of like global network. So there's no audio graph. It doesn't make any sense to me that you would want the same social graph from like Twitter or Telegram or Facebook or anywhere else for something like Clubhouse, because the types of things that you want to hear and that you want to listen to and the types of people you want to talk to and engage with and the skills required to operate in that medium are just so different. And the product teams being completely oriented around just that experience are going to do so much better than some little, SWAT team working inside of Facebook or Twitter. So all those efforts are just going to fall flat on their face. This has escape velocity like 100x what Meerkat did when Periscope came out and overtook it. I think get used to it. If you're not experimenting with it and playing with it now, you're just going to be late to it.
I better get in on it,
man. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to have to go try it out.
I have the same.
I mean, honestly, it works on like iPhone 6s and SEs and stuff. Like people are just buying like $50 used phones. You can also download it on an iPad. Like it's not that big a deal. The privacy sucks, but they pretend that you need to give your real name, but you don't. So people are figuring that out, and Anons are coming on now, which is great. So.
All right, I'm going to have to try this out anonymously, maybe. All right, and Swan news.
I mean, I guess the biggest recent news is we launched Swan Private Client Services, which is for like high net worth individuals, but also allows us to serve the whole globe. So we're open internationally now for like large wires, basically anything from like 25,000 to 100 million.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and we hired Robert Breedlove is now on the Swan team full time and is head of that unit. So that's pretty cool.
All right. Well, keep up the great work. You've got your Swan is everywhere. You send those dudes out. I mean, I got them on here every week. It seems like somebody. All right. Very good. Great to have you back. Steve, what's your news? Any news?
I wouldn't say any particular. We're constantly building right now. We're hitting every month is a new high in sales. So things are really good. Bigger and bigger clients are coming in, like more and more producers that sort of weren't interested, a couple of years ago are coming back to us. So things are good on that front. A few new products coming out, but no particular announcements, I guess.
All right, cool. Mauricio, anything that was left out? Anything you want to talk about?
No, nothing. Thank you for letting us talk about the round and the proof of reserves announcement. We're very pumped about that. And check us out on Twitter.
All right, dudes. That's the end of the show. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Best guest in the space. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, Disrupt Meister. Pound that like button. This Week in Bitcoin every freaking Friday. See you guys. Thank you, guest. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. I got to drop.